Hi guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my October wrap-up part 1. Now, it's going really well. We're like nearly halfway through October. I'm filming this on the 14th because tomorrow I'm working, so we're not quite halfway through the month. But I've managed to read 14 books already, which is not bad considering I think it's 14 or 15 books actually. So, and we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 books already! How the hell have I done that? But it does mean I've got a bit more flexibility for the rest of the month, which is going to be a bit of a hit and miss. I don't know. I don't know what the rest of the month's going to be. I've got the Sun Sister, which the day this video goes live I'm starting. I've got the Dead Romantics, which I'm going to be saving for the end of the month because it's I want to read it on like the last few days for near Halloween, so that's my plan for that. And I've also got Dr. Walter's School, which you know about. It wasn't officially on my TBR, but it pretty much was, so I'm not counting that as to books that I'm adding to my unread TBR. Those are the only ones that are not going to be shown. I've had a read-along book that I've been doing, so I'll show you that in a minute. And then I've got about 6 or 7 books that I'm adding to the shelves, adding to my TBR trolley thingy for the rest of the month. And then if I get through more than that, I've got a bit of flexibility. I'll show you guys. You'll probably see in my vlog clips, which I'm doing. I'm enjoying doing vlogging this. I know a lot of them have been quite short, and then the one that's coming up a few days after this is another short one because I'm not doing a huge amount. It's been an interesting month. But anyway, I'm not going to go on. I'm not going to ramble. My chair that I normally put my books on is broken, so I'm going to have to show you. I've sort of got them all in. We've got all the books in different piles. I mean, so I'm going to sort of be using my bed. You can tell we're filming on Saturday, so the kids are downstairs. It's not like I'm having to film on Saturday. You've got the kids doing homework, and I've got just sort of film on my bed. I haven't done that in a while. So before I forget, I'm going to show you what I'm currently reading. So I'm currently reading The Tent of Wildfell Hall. So that I'm doing reading with the lovely Chatty from our Chatter. And then I've got my tandem book, which is Normal Women, which you guys would have seen me talk about in my vlog clips. So yeah, I'm currently doing this for tandem. I'm nearly halfway through it, so it's a bit of a chunky one. So I'll put those two actually here, because then I've got that. Today, the day that I'm filming this, so the days that you guys will see it, I'm starting Deerbrook today. So that will be currently being read when this video goes live, and I think Demon Copperhead will more than likely be being read when this video goes live as well, because yeah, I don't plan to get stressed over the weekend. It's going to be tomorrow I'm working, so I don't know what I will have time to read and what I won't. Yeah, so those are kind of the currently reading. I had one unrated book because I didn't think I could rate The Old Nurse's Story by Elizabeth Gaskell. It is a good book. It's all right. I read it when I was at work yesterday morning, and I didn't really connect with The Old Nurse's Story. It's like a thrillery kind of one, but I didn't really connect. I am no good with short stories, apart from some that I'll show you in a minute, but we'll go into that in a minute. So that's my unrated. Then I've got 3 stars. Now, for me, a 3-star is a book that's okay. It's nothing amazing. It's nothing awful. It's just okay. So I've got A Stitch in Time by Penelope Lively. I don't get the Stitch in Time bit. I kind of got some bits of time travel fantasy. I didn't really connect with it as much as I wanted to. It's like a modern classic. Maria is getting lost in the secret world of her imagination, but when she begins to hear things that no one else does, she's not sure if they're real, and then she finds like the thingy. There is a talking cat in this. That was probably my favourite bit of the whole book, but it didn't blow my mind. It's not one I'm really going to talk about much because I didn't really enjoy it that much. So that's going Jolly Shop. Then a book that kind of let me down because it's one that I added to my TBR because I was reading so quickly this month and I didn't have very many contemporaries on the list. Kind of corrected that for the rest of the month. And that is The Girls by Bella Osborne. I loved The Library by Bella Osborne. I thought that was incredible. This was okay, but it wasn't. Considering it had like 4 older protagonists. They're all in their 70s and 80s. Bit of a mystery element to it. A bit of a sort of friendship. It was obviously a friendship element, but it wasn't like the lead characters were amazing. They all had so many flaws that it just wasn't almost believable. Like, their negative stuff is not believable, that you can have 4 women that all have problems like this. So like you've got Zara, who's a famous diva actress, Val, who's the uptight solicitor, Jackie the wild child, and Pauline the quirky introvert. But this does have some trigger warnings in it, and I will and if you want to know those, let me know, because the trigger warnings are too vital for me to really not give spoilers away if I tell you what they are. But there are triggers. And they meet up for Zara's like 80th birthday. They all get called to meet up for that. And then Zara decides that she wants them all to move in with her in her house and move in with her. And then something happens, and it's okay. It was just not, like, the library was amazing. This is not one I'm going to keep or particularly reread. Then my TBR jar book, and that was it was Lilac Girls by Martha Paul Kelly. Now, I did get warned by some people when I put this on my TBR that it would break me, that it would be hard. I didn't expect how hard. Now, I know obviously I've read quite a lot of books about Auschwitz. Sneaky peek for October is that I've got another Auschwitz concentration camp book, but this one is not. This one is about Ravensbrück, which is a different concentration camp, and this has one of the characters that is there, that ends up in there, and it's not the whole part of the book, but it's a good like 1 and 2 parts of it. And there are some very, very big triggers with the war and with the concentration camps and with things that were happening in the war. You do have one storyline that's partly set in America and partly set over in France. But it was just so hard hitting and so long and so bits that I couldn't put it down, because I wanted to know what was happening to characters. So it was good 3 stars in the fact that I wanted to know, but at the same breath I kept having to have breaks from it to have breath, because it was just so hard. And the Ravensbrück scenes are very, very triggering, and I mean, like, not even lying. I've read a lot of books about concentration camps, but this was even hard for me, and it was just ridiculously hard. So I'm not keeping it. I will not read a sequel, and I will not read any more of the author. But it is a well-written book. You just need to be aware that this is based on a real-life experiences. And at least 2 of these characters are based on real-life people. So it's very hard to imagine what was happening then, and it was just very, very, very hard. So I'm going to reread that. And then we got While Paris Slept, which this is another one that's set in the war. But we've got one storyline that's set in Paris 1944, one that's set in Santa Cruz 1953. Now, I rated this 4 stars, but do you know what? I can't remember this. So this is on the lower end of the 4 stars, because I can't really remember a huge amount of it. So we've obviously got a young woman's future is torn away in a heartbeat, headed on a train bound for Auschwitz. In an act of desperation, she entrusts her most precious possession to a stranger. Now all she has left is hope. And then Jean-Luc thought he'd left it all behind in the second storyline is in Santa Cruz in 1953. Now I remember what this book is about. Yeah, I just needed a quick remember. So yes, it did actually be 4 stars, because it is very hard. Something happens at the start of the book where I'm not going to tell you who, a baby is interested into another person's hands. And this is the story about what happens after. Again, you do have some concentration camp stuff in this, but it's not as harsh as the other book. It is not anywhere near as harsh. But it also talks about your children and how your children don't have to necessarily be genetic. They can be adopted, and it's not about, like, our upbringing is not based on genetics, it's based on upbringing. It's based on who you live with and who you spend your time with. So there are some very interesting parental points, and there were some bits that killed me, because I couldn't imagine giving up my child. But would I give up my child if I would 100% give up my child if it meant they had a better life? So I saw a lot of the parental issues in this were very hard hitting, but very, very good. It was a very good book, and it's one I'm going to recommend to people in the charity shop, but not one I will really read. I need more room. And this one's getting kept because it's Diabolical Bones, but this was not as good as the prequel. Like, I read The Vanished Bride by Bella Ellis, which is again one of the Bronte retellings, and this mystery I didn't like quite as much. The Vanished Bride was 5 stars. This was 4, because For starters, there were some real icky moments. So bits that are very, when I say gory, like scary. This was bloody scary. This literally lived up to the nature. This is frigging petrifying. So I know for a fact that Jem from Gemma Books would love this because it is fucking destroyed. It was just so scary. Jem would love this. For me, it was a bit too scary at times, and I did have to put it down at other times because I got quite scared. But God, I love the Bronte aspect of it. That for me was a massive part why I loved it. I loved the three sisters and how we really go into actually. I feels like we actually did get to know a bit of the personalities of the sisters, because it does actually, I think, portray, from what I've gathered from all that I've read about them, it does actually portray their personalities really well. And it does talk a lot about Bramwell, actually, their brother, and his alcoholism. I just brought sneaky peek to another video, is I did buy Tales of Angria, which is the short stories that Charlotte Bronte wrote with Bramwell, because that's also talked about in that book, and that part was good. So to be honest, if I just had the Brontes, then I wouldn't need anything else, because I'm such a massive Bronte fan, if you hadn't guessed from all the other amount of times I talk about them. But it is really good, so thoroughly recommend it. I do recommend it. It was just not one that necessarily, it was not quite as good as the first in the series. Then to my friggin' ginormous classic, Lorna Doone. This was 4 stars, and now in Victober week 1 vlog I talk about how much I enjoyed this, and then there is another Victorian book in here that I loved even more, but this was really good. It was a surprise to me. It's my first R.D. Blakemore book. This was a book that, this actual physical copy was given to me by one of my girls that I used to work with for us on the Secret Santa present. This has got pictures in it. I'm trying to find where some of the pictures are, but the chapters are well laid out. The chapters are short and sweet, so it's so easy to fly through. You can see the pictures. The chapters are so easy to fly through, that in that part I thoroughly loved. I absolutely loved it, and I thought it was quite easy to read. But it wasn't as much about Lorna Doone as it was about the other male lead character, and I can't remember his name, so that's why it was 4 stars and not 5. That I can't remember everything, but it was a great start to Victober, a great Victorian book. It just didn't blow my mind as much as others. Now I'm going to show you this physical book, because I've read 2 short stories that I counted as what. Basically, this book is being counted as read because I've read quite a few of the short stories, but I counted 2 short stories as 1 number in my book because I read on one day last week, so I think it's from Victober week, this coming up week's vlog. I read The Canterville Ghost and The Selfish Giant with my sister Charlie from Charlie Brooke Reads, and they both got 4 stars. They were 2 short stories I read and thoroughly loved. I loved Canterville Ghost. That was a longer one, but bloody hell did it get me hooked. It was friggin' brilliant. And that was for the prompt of... So I think Lorna Doone was for my prompt. I can't remember what prompt Lorna Doone was for. Obviously the Secret Tenant of Welfare Hall was Katie's prompt. This was for the stranger element thing, but the Canterville Ghost, and it was brilliant. I read, what other ones have I read? So I'm going to take this downstairs. I think we've read The Selfish Giant, which I loved. I've also read The Remarkable Rocket with Charlie, and I didn't love that as much. I don't know which other ones we're going to read. I think we were supposed to be reading the birthday one, but I can't remember which one it is. Birthday is in Fontana. I'll be reading that this week. So yeah, I have read a couple of short stories, and this is 4 stars for the 2 that I read. And like I said, for me, the Canterville Ghost is counting because it was for my prompt and it was for Victober. But I'm going to carry on reading these short stories over the next couple of weeks and see how many of them I read. But I am really enjoying it. Now to my last 4 star, I think. Yeah. Oh no, I've got one more 4 star after this. Don't laugh at me too much. This is Jason Donovan's autobiography. One of them, I think. I don't know if he's written another one. This is Between the Lines by Jason Donovan. And this talks about his life up to just after his time in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. So it goes up to then. So I think it was written in 2006. So it's obviously quite a while ago, this story. And I don't know if he's had another child since 2007 this was written in. So obviously it's like 16 years ago, 16 years ago I think, and it was good. It was really good. This talked about his life when obviously I was his fan, like, 'cause I was one of those younger ones that watched Neighbours when he was in it, and his bromance with Charlene. He was one of my first ever celebrity crushes. I loved him to pieces. And yeah, you find out what happened before Neighbours, after Neighbours, when he went on when he had a drug addictions, to meeting his wife. It doesn't really go much after him meeting his wife, and he had 2 of his children. I don't know if he's had another one since then. I swear I think I've heard of it. He talks about his siblings, his parents. He talks about a lot of things, and it's a really, really good autobiography. Thoroughly loved it. I read it over Thursday and Friday because it was Charlie's birthday on Friday, and one of our songs that we sing together is Especially For You, which is, no, even though we're sisters, but it's one of our little memories, and yeah, that's why I read it. It was sentimental stuff, but yeah, I thoroughly love Jason Donovan. I don't care. I know he's bald now, I know all that, but it's like childhood. It's like remembering crushes. It's just nostalgic, and I love it. And I found out he's friends with Gary Barlow, who I obviously bloody seriously still love. So, and then I read, on a completely opposite note, I also read My Name is Victoria by Lucy Worsley. I'm keeping this. It's another keepy. I've got quite a few keepies. And this is not actually based on Princess Victoria before she was queen. It's actually based on like a friend of hers. Like, I don't know, I can't remember whether this friend was actually real. Miss V. Conroy, and she was John Conroy's daughter. Now, I don't know. I know John Conroy was a real person. I know obviously Albert we meet Victoria, I meet all of them. But I don't know if Victoria Conroy was a real person, because it does kind of challenge that, but it talks a lot about Conroy and what he did. Now, I would love to know if that is actually true. I'm wanting to see if I'm reading an epilogue about why she wrote it. Now, we all know, like I said, we all know that John Conroy was a complete bastard. He was the Queen's mother's sort of male friend who we know had an affair with him. I wonder if he did. I wonder. Oh, she did have it. Sir John Conroy did have a real daughter called Victoria, with whom he forced the young princess to play. But we don't know how much they played and how exactly the details. So we also know that Queen Victoria tended to be self-pity and melodrama. So it's quite interesting. I wonder if she was enemy or friends or what happened. But this was a really fun YA book, and I thoroughly loved it. It was a really good 4 stars, and one I will reread, and it just was really good because it was just like historically. It makes me want to watch like the Queen Victoria stuff and more stuff about Victoria, because I thought read it for Victoria. That was why I read it. Then to my 4.5 star books, I've got Pandora, which is by Susan Stokes Chapman. I'm going to keep this because I paid full whack for it. It wasn't 5 stars. It does kind of annoy me when I buy books that aren't 5 stars. But yeah, I really did enjoy this. It was like, this was very dark, very gothic, very like, oh my goodness, very scary at points as well. What do I put myself through? And this is set in London in 1799. It's about Dora Blake, who lives with her uncle in what used to be her parents' famed shop of antiquities. It's about the Pandora's jar. It's a vase. It's basically about Pandora's jar vase and all that sort of mystery kind of like mythical element. And then we've got the help of Edward Lawrence, who is a young antiquarian scholar. And Edward's quite interesting. And this was a really, really good book. It was really good, and it's one I will reread. So actually, that's going to have to go somewhere on the shelves. It was 4.5 stars. It was very gothic and very dark and a bit icky and a bit scary at points. So I'm not sure how much when I'll reread that. And then to a book that it's 4.5 stars, but it almost was 5. For me, it sounds like a really pathetic thing why it didn't quite get 5 stars. There was no punctuation. There's no like speech marks. There's punctuation as in full stops and stuff, but no speech marks in this. And it was very slow to get into. But again, it was really, 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 really good. Thoroughly loved it. Thought it was really good, but it wasn't quite as good as Careless. And I think Alice Mellis and Giant Bookshelf found exactly that same thing. She didn't like it quite as much as Careless, but she did really like it. And it is one I'm going to reread because it's a contemporary I'll reread, which doesn't happen very often. So at the moment I've got 4 books at least, 4 and plus all these 3 5 stars. I've got 7 or 8 books I'm keeping. Bloody hell, what's going on with me? But this was really good, and this is definitely one I'm going to reread. And it's about Lucy Banbury, who isn't the sort of person that everyone gets on with. She's prickly and secretive. And there's a reasons behind it. And I think, and then she discovers at her family wedding that she was adopted, and everything in her life just shatters, and it's quite believable. And there are some hard-hitting bits. There's a bit of a romance that kind of appears, and I can't really give spoilers to who it does. But it is a really good book, and it's one I definitely, even though it's 4.5 stars, it was very, very, very good. Then to my 3 5 stars. I'm not going to get you to guess what the favourite is, because to me, I'm going to put, to me, as much, I'm debating whether any of these are going to be go on my favourites list of the year, for the year. I don't think any of them are going on my favourites list, but all 3 are incredible. So I will tell you my Victober one, because there is actually a Victober 5 stars, which is very surprising. My 2 non-Victober ones are October by Caitlin Ballen, and this is a really good middle grade. It was done because it was one of Jackson's favourite Joy's favourite authors. She loves Caitlin Ballen. My sister Charlie gave this to me, and it is a very, very good book. It's a middle grade book. It's a contemporary, but it's got a lot about nature, woodland and environment, and the lead character in this is very, very good. She's brought up in the wild. She's brought up without people, so you can obviously see how that affects her and herself. And when she's basically thrown into living with other people, when something happens and she's thrown into living with other people she doesn't know, and then back in sort of normal society, you can see how that throws her. But it is very well written, very, very good. There's the real nature element in it, and I thought it was 5 stars all the way. Bloody loved it. Then to a book that I was supposed to finish today, but I finished last night because it just gave me all of the feels. It is very rare that I get. This is actually, I thought it was contemporary, but it's actually a fantasy, and I changed it on my book. This is the X-Hex by Erin Sterling. It was my buddy read with the lovely Cat from Brews and Reviews. It is gothic-y, witchy, fantasy, contemporary, saucy. It's everything that I shouldn't love as much as I did, but I bloody loved it. It was a random buy from the works, and I'm glad I bought the sequel, because now it turns out me and Kat are going to read the sequel in January, because I've just got to carry on reading the series. And apparently another book came out this month, so I'm going to be buying it this month, and I'm going to probably buy it in paperback soon, because this was all of the gothic-y, all of the witchy feels, fun, light-hearted, spooky, scary, everything, saucy, everything, and I thoroughly, thoroughly loved it. I loved it way more than I thought I would. I thought it was going to be 4 stars. I thought, just a normal contemporary. I thought it was contemporary more than the fantasy, but the witchy element just gave it that thing, and the saucy bit, and the lead characters, and it's just, it's one that you shouldn't love as much as I did, but I bloody loved it. See, I'm keeping it. Then to my final 5 star, before I show you the books that I'm adding to the TBR, and that is The Law and the Lady by Wilkie Collins. I thought I loved The Moonstone. I thought I loved The Woman in White. This had me. When I say Wilkie Collins could be a potential favourite author, I now am going to be looking at Baz books, and I will be buying all of this guy's books. I've got No Name by him on the shelves over there. I am flipping addicted to Wilkie Collins. If you like thrillers, if you like mysteries, if you like scary books as well, and if you like sensation novels, you will flipping love Wilkie Collins. He has not disappointed. This also showed a strong woman. This could have been for the strong woman, because the woman in this is trying to solve the mystery, because her husband got accused of killing his first wife. She never believed he did. So she goes to every way to find out who really killed him, who really killed her. And this is just amazing. I oh my God, it's one I could almost reread, but I don't know if I can reread it, because it's oh, it's just so good. Thoroughly loved it. I don't think, obviously I've still got Deerbrook to finish. I've still got The Tenant of Wildfell Hall to finish. But it would be a very big surprise if anything beats that as a favourite. And I'm to say the fact that this could well even beat Tenant for me. So Charlie, you're going to hate me, but I don't care. It's just so flipping good. So these are the books that I'm adding to the next books are going to be ones I'm adding. It's 7 books that I'm adding to this month's TBR, so I won't talk about them too much, but I will show you them, and I'll show you what I'm adding, and then I'm going to have to write them in my book, because I've got to put it in my book to tell you what I'm adding. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 contemporaries, a historical fiction, a non-fiction. Then obviously technically we kind of got the Dr. Walter School on there, so I have got a real mix of books to read for the rest of the month, which is what I want. Yes, I've got 4 contemporaries, and that's because I need them. And when I show you them, you'll understand why. So for starters, I fancy Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, because, I don't know, just fancied this one. This is about Alice, a novelist who meets Felix, who works in a warehouse, and asks him to travel to Rome with her. In Dublin, her best friend Eileen is getting over a breakup. Alice, Felix, Eileen and Simon are young, but life is catching up with them. They desire each other and delude each other. They worry about sex and friendship. I just don't know. This one could be... This is a real hit and miss one. I'm just realising I don't know if there's any punctuation in this. Oh yes, there is. There is speech marks, because I know one of the books didn't have speech marks. This had good reviews on it, but I didn't love Normal People. But I wanted to read it. I just don't know why. I just kind of wanted to read it, so I did. And then I'm going to show you the other contemporaries. Then I've got Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, because this looks a bit darky, a bit sort of wintry. It looks like watery almost, so it's got water on the cover. I hate the word ugly, but it's been told. I have loved Colleen Hoover's books. They are really good. This is about an unforgettable love story that breaks all the rules. It's not exactly love at first sight for Tate Collins when she meets the secretive Miles Archer. They wouldn't even go as far as to consider themselves friends. The only thing that Tate and Miles have in common is a mutual physical attraction that can't be denied. I don't know. Let's just see what it's like. Kind of looks like a saucy romancy. Might be quite very different from the Victober books. They're the books that I will plan to start Monday, I think. No. And that is, hopefully I'll start it Monday, and that is Tell It to the Skies by Erica James. The word Take It to the Skies is because on Monday, it would be the day this goes live, it's 14 years to the day that my dad died. And skies, to me, shouts out aeroplanes, even though I know this isn't about aeroplanes. It's a little bit about travel, about Venice, about Broad. I know my dad went to Venice. I think Mum went there as well. I don't think they went there together, though. Suddenly, in the middle of a crowded Venice street, Lydia glimpses a face that takes her back to England, back to her childhood, to a dreadful secret she believed she had banished to the past. As children, Lydia and her sister were sent to live with their grandparents they'd never met. It was a cruel and loveless world for them, and forced Lydia to grow up fast. And then, as an adult, the beautiful city of Venice gave Lydia peace and excitement. And then a stranger's face forces her to revisit the past she's been hiding from for 28 years. I don't know how this is going to feel, but it had the word skies in it, had the word like travelling, and I just thought it might be good to hopefully start this and think about the old man. Hopefully I'll like it. Then to a book that I probably would have read by this time this video goes live, because I'm going to take it downstairs. It is In the Time We Lost by Carrie Hope Fletcher. It's a pink book, pink and blue, but I kind of wanted a pink book to read. And this is a little bit magically, it's a little bit differently. Luna Lark used to love her name, but that was before people started saying it differently. Luna doesn't want pity, she wants a fresh start, somewhere where she can make headway on a new novel, mend her broken part, and more importantly, keep herself to herself. And then, yeah, I don't want to know any more than that. Looks really good. I'm going to start this today, so I'm going to put that there. It's because I'll take that downstairs, but yeah, I'm going to start that. Then to 3 very different books. First one is my book in honour of Victober, because it's set in the Victorian times, I believe. And this is, oh yes, it is set in Victorian times, so it's historical fiction set in Victorian times, but it's an LGBTQI book. This is, the Victorian gossip mongers call them the Petticoat Men, but to young Mattie Stacey, they are Freddie and Ernest, her gentlemen lodgers. She doesn't care if they dress up in sparkling gowns to attend society balls as Fanny and Stella. She only cares that they are kind to her, they make her laugh, and they pay the rent on time. Then one fateful night, Fanny and Stella are arrested, and Mattie, outraged but staunch, is dragged into a shocking court trial, hailed in the newspapers all over the world as the scandal of the century. This is amazing. Can't wait to try that. To a book. I had the word sisters in it. It looks a bit, again, quite dark and gothic-y. This is The Lighthouse Sisters. 2 sisters torn apart by war, one heart-wrenching sacrifice. So this is another wartime book. What am I doing to myself? This is set over 2 timelines, 1996. And this is the war may have ended decades earlier, but for the elegant women sitting alone, their lives now live on in memory. Her sister's carefree laughter, the inky black German soldiers' boots, the little boats that never came back, and the one constant through it all, the lighthouse that always guided them to the island. Then in 1940, for sisters Alice and Jenny, life is about to begin when the Nazis seeks control of their island on Jersey, and driving the girls down separate paths. When Alice is forced by the enemy to work in a German hospital, Jenny is attracted to the second of islanders rising up to resist the occupation. This one I'll read it towards the end of the month in honour of the fact that we're coming up to Armistice Day. So, yeah, that's that. And then I fancied another fun, silly book after all these dark books. I'm going to read one of Miranda Hart's autobiographies, Is It Just Me? It looks funny. Well, hello to you, dear book browser. Here's the thing. Is it just me, or does everyone find adulthood offers no refuge for the unexpected horrors, peculiar lack of physical coordination, and sometimes unexplained nudity that accompany adulthood and adolescence? This looks funny. It looks really good. Just what I need. So, that you just had a pause very, very briefly because my phone battery is about to die. So before it dies, I'm just going to say, how is your book going? And what books have you been reading? Let me know down below. In honour of the fact that, if you obviously like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and not subscribed yet, bring on my dealing. But in honour of today being the anniversary of my dad's death, and in honour of aeroplanes, which is something he loved, for starters, I'm going to do a little bit of a thing at the end just to say this video is in honour of you. I'm just going to do a dedication to my dad, because without him, I don't know where I'd be. Obviously, I wouldn't be here. But just to say I loved you, Dad, and I miss you. And if you're up there looking down on me, I'm sending you hugs. But in honour of him, if you get to the end of this video, give me an aeroplane emoji or some form of travel. That would be great. And I will see you all soon. Bye bye.